Africa is expected to grow by 12% over the next 5 years. Egypt and South Africa are said to be the market leaders in this industry, but Kenya has also made her own strides. Now, according to numerous online articles, the African gaming industry is influenced by many factors, including disposable income, youthful population, and existing laws. But do those laws that enable such an industry to thrive exist locally? Do we have institutions that impact this kind of knowledge on Kenya's youth? And is the government ready to rake in the millions of shillings that are associated with the gaming industry? This is Business Now. Good afternoon. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. First, here are the highlights of the show. What are the growth points for the gaming industry in Kenya today? Does Kenya have sufficient laws to regulate the gaming industry? And how does one join this lucrative industry? I'll be telling you who we'll be speaking to on this very exciting, lucrative industry that I'm looking forward to learning much more about. The hashtag is Business Now. But first, let's bring you up to date with the very latest in the world of business. And let's start off with the Democratic Republic of Congo that is likely to join the East African community in the coming months. This follows the EAC's launch of a verification process last week. According to the EAC Secretary General Peter Mathuki, the 8-day process is expected to conclude early next month. Right now, the Capital Markets Authority has issued the first set of licenses to 5 coffee brokers in line with the Capital Markets Regulations 2020. The licenses will allow the brokers to carry out the role of coffee brokerage services at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, that's the NCE, with effect from the 1st of July this year. Meru County Coffee Marketing Agency Limited has been granted a full coffee broker license, whereas other applicants for coffee broker licenses have been granted conditional licenses. And finally, Coca-Cola Kenya has changed the bottling of its soda brand Sprite. The new bottle, according to the beverage firm, makes it easy to collect, recycle, and reuse to make new items. So we're talking about the gaming sector in the country. How does it compare to that in the continent and indeed globally as well? Today, I will not lie to you, I am all about learning about this, and the reading just proves that this is a huge industry, not just globally but in the country as well. So this is who we're talking to on the show today. We've got Bavon Ojwang, who's the CEO of the Esports Federation of Kenya. Who knew there was an Esports Federation? We'll be talking about that. And then we'll also have Dennis Mbuthia, who's a lecturer for the Rubika Game Development Program. He'll be defining all of these terms for us and telling us more about the 3-year course that they offer and what sort of skills it confers on you, as well as speaking to a founder and a game developer. Jay Shapiro will be on the program. He's the CEO and founder of Usiku Games. They call it Gaming for Good. That's the hashtag that they're using. What is it about? We'll be talking about that a lot more. Also on the show, we'll be having a celebrity, a superstar in the gaming industry. They call him The Beast. He's a pro gamer. You'll be hearing from him and what that means in just a moment. So the typical stereotype we have of gamers is young people, typically glued to their screens or their phones. They would be young, white boys who are shy, introverted, geeks, and from well-to-do backgrounds. But that is fast changing. We have lots of young Africans getting into this too. I want to take you back to our young days. Remember playing games like Super Mario or Tetris or Snake on our old phones long before the advent of smartphones, to now a much wider array of more advanced and even African games that are relatable to us and are used for social communication. Listen, guys, it's not child's play anymore. It is serious business, creating jobs for many, such as local developers, coders, and entrepreneurs who run gaming dens. So, how big a market are we talking about? The first thing you need to know today is that the global video gaming industry is valued by different players as between $130 billion to $150 billion. So we've just put it here at over $100 billion. So where does Kenya fall in this? Well, they're staking their claim, that is the country of Kenya, in this global industry, with our local video game industry projected by the Entertainment and Media Outlook survey by PwC to grow at a constant annual growth rate of 13.2% between 2017 and 2022. And in terms of raw numbers, this is what it looks like. $153 million by the year 2023. That is about 16.5 billion Kenya shillings. That's expected to be the growth of that sector. Now, what is driving these impressive numbers? Well, two factors. One is obviously our youthful population. 50% of Africa's population will be aged 0 to 24 years by the year 2050. The second factor driving the growth of the gaming industry is, of course, the internet penetration and accessibility to smartphones. Now, according to the Communications Authority of Kenya 2019 report, about 8 million Kenyans have access to smartphones in the country. So where does Kenya fall on the continent? Well, Kenya's place in the continent is impressive, ranked as 8th most popular gaming hub in Africa. Now, while the continent's gaming industry is expected to increase 12% in the next 5 years. And let's just put a face to all of these numbers that you're hearing. Take a look at these two young Kenyans. They're young Kenyan superstars in esports. Sylvia Queen Arrow Gathoni, she's just 22 years old, an expert in the fighting game called Tekken, ranked 13th in Kenya and the first woman in East Africa to be sponsored by a global brand. And then there is this man here, Brian the Beast Dianga, who's 28. He's an expert in the game Mortal Kombat, who says gaming gave him purpose and took him away from a life of crime. He runs gaming dens in Kibra, where he lives to this day. And guess what? We have a treat for you. Our Patrick Igunza will be speaking to Brian the Beast right here on the show. So we're looking forward to that. So that's the 5 on the gaming industry in Kenya. The hashtag, like we said, is Business Now. Any questions, comments you've got on this lucrative industry in the country, please do send them through at Citizen TV Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara. Looking forward to that. Let's start off with Dennis Mbuthia, who's a lecturer in this field. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I think as we begin, it's prudent to understand this. I don't know if everyone is as green as I am, but let's understand a couple of terms as we get into the conversation. So there's game, there's gaming, which sometimes is interchangeably, maybe rightly or not, used with betting, and then there's esports. So define these terms for us that we'll be coming across this afternoon on the show.
Okay, great. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. So to begin with, we're going to start with just a general definition of what a game is. And a game is a form of structured play with an objective for somebody to be able to achieve, and it must be fun. Okay, so with that then comes in the next definition of what now the games industry. So the games industry is in general what it refers to any kind of game that somebody will be playing to that captures an objective, that has an objective and must be fun to play. Then comes in gaming. Now, gaming has had two definitions throughout its lifetime, the word itself. The first one was people playing games, and then the second one came in with a connotation of betting. And this came about because now gambling, betting was not a very good term people were using, and also they tried to make it a bit politically correct now by using the term gaming. So they should not be, ideally shouldn't be interchanged, as much as betting is a portion of part of the game industry. It's a small portion, but it has been bringing about the largest amount of money getting in from when you're seeing the sports that are being played and being sponsored by different players in the market that we have seen here in Kenya and globally. So yeah, those are the two differences. So generally when we are here having this particular conversation, we are talking about the game industry itself, the games industry, the people making the games and playing those games.
Okay.
Which now brings in the esports part.
Right.
Esports now is the professional persons playing the games now. Okay, so they have taken their time to play this game for more, minimum of 8 hours a day, even.
Wow.
Even just purely focusing on their skill level on their console commands and just churning out the best activity that the player character can play within a game to be able to again achieve the objective.
I see. So those in the esports are basically, can we say, gamers who've gone pro?
Yes, gamers who've gone pro.
Okay, great. So now that we understand what we're talking about, tell us about what for you the industry looks like in Kenya and in the region, and therefore why there is a need to even have a university course. It's a degree course that you offer, right? At Rubika. So tell us about the industry and then therefore having a course around this, and you can talk to us a little bit about that course, how long it takes and what sort of skills it confers on those that take it up.
Okay, thank you. So the entire continent at the moment, we've been pushing ourselves towards a lot of mobile penetration, using of the mobile phones and all. And this has meant that more people are having access to broadband and they can be able to access things globally. And then the incoming of features phone devices and smartphone devices and smart feature phone devices, this enables people to be able to play, get to play some additional games, some additional form of entertainment. Previously, the phone has only been used for just communication, text and phone calls, and this time now we can actually go ahead and play games. As she mentioned earlier before, the games that we started off with, the feature phones, was Snake and Bantumi. For those of you who are Nokia diehards from the 3310 era.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So from there, it's so many people now that they have access are now willing to getting entertained through games. And not only that, there's also the console games, Xbox and PS and Nintendo Switch, that has become very, very popular, and the recent PS5 that has been unleashed in the market, and which has been quite expensive. But because of this, that means people are hungry for entertainment, and entertainment where they're not just sitting down and watching, but this time it's entertainment that they can actually participate in it and get to see what outcomes will I have when I make this decision over another decision. And so this has meant that filmmakers are also pushing themselves to interactive media content, and this brings in the games part. And so at ADMI we got to realize, hey, this is a niche. In East and Central Africa, we don't have a place where people can learn. Personally, I have learned through mentors and reading things online, and thankfully, yes, internet was available, but at that time it was 5 bob a minute, and had to download resources and print them so that I can read and keep up to date, and especially get into the specific field of game design, which is making of games, coming up with the idea and breaking it down into rewards, objectives, and how are you going to actually help people play these games. Okay. So with that in mind, ADMI felt we need some partnership to be able to bring this to fruition, and thus comes in the French embassy, which was really helpful in trying to get us a school that would accredit us to be able to give the course, and we got to find Rubika, which is the top tier animation, video games, and institutional design in France. So having that partnership means that we are getting a lot of support to be able to teach people how to play these games.
I see. So just a quick one. What are some of the courses, if you could just sort of name them? We'll come back and talk a little bit more about, you know, the skill sets that are required in the industry.
Yeah.
But what are some of the courses you offer? What do some of the units look like?
Okay, within the games industry?
Yeah, within the course that you offer. Rubica.
Okay, great. The course itself is Rubica Video Game Development, and within it we get to learn game design, game programming, level design, using the tools within, which is inclusive of Photoshop and Mixamo, just to and Blender, to be able to make those games themselves. And also we have an entrepreneurship section and also law.
Okay.
And the most important part also, one of the most important parts for us also is game programming.
Okay. So quite a detailed course from what that sounds like. And even from that definition, you've told us that, you know, playing games is one thing, playing games pro is another thing, and that's where you have, you know, esports. And so we have the CEO of the Esports Federation of Kenya, Bavan Ojwang, who's here with me. So who knew we have an Esports Federation of Kenya? Tell us about that, and you know, what happens there? Is it the sports federation we imagine, like, you know, organized the same way? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, even how we come into existence is through, you know, the same criteria the other federations also created and formed. And we've just been, you know, around for about 3 years now. It's a federation that was established the other day. That's the reason maybe why we're not out there in the public yet. But of course, we have so many activities that we're working on to just try to make sure that, you know, we are out there and people can be able to access us. You know, I really appreciate what my partner here, you know, they're already doing with, you know, trying to now bring even courses that you know, related to gaming. Because that's what actually a lot of people in the industry are grappling with, you know, how do we begin to understand this very strange sport.
Right. So what happens in your federation? Do you have one game, several games? Which games are those? How have you organized yourself? Do you have tournaments? Do you have a World Cup? How does it work?
Okay, so with at the federation, you know, we also guided by, we also affiliated to an even bigger organization with the International Esports Federation. And they guide us on, you know, the activities that we should be having within a certain calendar period. So for instance, we require to have a national league, an esports national league, you know, just the way soccer guys have their own FKF and all, you know, all that. So at some point we're going to have that. We're going to have a national esports league that, you know, we'll have teams actually. You know, when you get to esporting now and at the professional level, is now guys able to organize themselves into team. They can get sponsors, you know, they paid salaries and allowances and those kind of things. So we'll have tournaments coming up. Of course, I don't know if you're aware about this, but I think last year the Olympic organizing committee, you know, actually approved esports to be an Olympic game. It will be an indoor sport. It might not happen with this Olympic, but I think
the next one.
So because currently now they're working on the rules on how to guide
and so what games do you play within the federation, at least even the local one? What sort of game? Is it FIFA? Is it FIFA 18?
For the local one, I'll talk about, you know, the local league now. We'll have 4 games for the local league. But with those 2 games, we have to include 2 games which the International Esports Federation requires that, you know, we should have.
And which games are those?
It will be League of Legends, Tekken, and then now we're going to introduce FIFA because FIFA is the most popular game. And Mortal Kombat. Those are very popular games in Kenya. So we can leave that behind, so we have to bring those along.
All right. And that is Interesting. We'll look forward to what that means, you know, at an Olympic level, and that at least we're starting to sort of organize ourselves at a local level. Yeah. We'll be hearing from one of the pro gamers in just a moment, who's with our Patrick Igunza, who I'm so looking forward to. You know, I understand he's one of the best. They don't call him the Beast for nothing. Let's bring in Jay Shapiro, who's the CEO and founder of Usiku Games. So Jay, tell us about Usiku Games. You know, what is it about? And then we can talk about what it takes to develop a game such as this one, because it's interesting to have Kenyan games. I think most of the ones we hear about are foreign or international games, the Tekken, the FIFA, and many of the others. But now we have our own African games called Usiku Games. So give us a very brief overview of Usiku Games, and then what it takes to develop a game like that. What sort of skill sets do you require? You know, what sort of people, you know, the cost, the funding? Take us through that.
Sure, thanks so much. So, you know, when Bevan and the Esports Federation people at the East are focused on playing the games, we're much more focused on the creation of the games and building up the Kenyan industry for content development and creating local titles here. So we're what we call a social impact gaming company. We create games that make a difference and try and make the world a little bit better place through either education, healthcare, climate change, those sorts of topics, where we harness the power of gamification as a tool to create behavior change and education amongst our players. And also, it's important to point out that you know, so far the conversation's been really focused on the esports and the professional players like the Beast. You know, they're equivalent to like Eliud as a professional athlete, whereas Nike sells millions of running shoes to the people who just like to go for a jog after work. And that's really who we're focused on, is the millions and millions of people who play games but may not be gamers with a capital G. In fact, if you look at the mobile game industry globally, the median age is actually 34, not teenage boys, but actually 65% women.
Wow.
And so that's people who play, you know, Candy Crush and Sudoku and Subway Surfer and all those kinds of categories. That's exactly what we're creating here in Kenya with local titles like Okoa Simba, Mama Mboga, Masai Mkali, and games here that resonate with local Kenya, because they feature local music and local heroes and local environments that we've created right here in Nairobi.
And that is interesting, in fact, that you mentioned that, because at least now I don't feel typically too old for this conversation, because I'm on Candy Crush and crossword puzzles on my phone.
You're
quite
exactly
a bit.
our target.
Yeah. So I thank you for that, Jay. So let's talk about, you know, game creation, and which is what you do. What sort of people do you have around you to create, say, one game? What sort of skill sets do you require? People who do what exactly?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because the gaming industry is one of the fastest growing areas, particularly in Kenya, but also globally, because it involves so many different skills. A lot of people think about game development meaning programmers and software development, but actually there's so many different skills involved. We have writers and musicians and rappers and marketers and architects and statisticians. There's so many different people that go into the creation of a game. Illustrators and animators. Many games are frankly art more than they are business. And others are purely business, and they're all about making money in different ways. But at the core of them all, it's about having fun. And that's what's unique about them. And so it takes all different skills to work together in cooperation. And that's why we're constantly recruiting at Usiku Games. You know, we started 3 years ago. Our team has grown substantially already. We're now the largest game studio in Africa. And we're starting to grow across the continent, making Kenya the regional hub for gaming in Africa.
Yeah, and they don't, you know, the statistics say that Kenya is the 8th most, you know, popular growing hub for gaming on the continent. So what are the sort of jobs, what are the sort of jobs that are available in this, you know, in this sector? So who are you working with? How many different types of skills do you require? Just for those who are saying, okay, yeah, this is great. What both of you have said is, you know, it's all about fun, but there's also money involved, and there's also, you know, jobs, because no doubt, I'm sure you've got people of completely different skills that you have. So tell us, who do you have on your teams? What sort of people?
Yeah, we always say that there's a big difference between making a game and making a game business. Those are not necessarily the same thing. And so there's lots of people to get involved in this industry. Like I said, we have rappers in Canada. We have designers and illustrators, people who like to draw. We have IP lawyers, HR and finance people. I mean, this is a big professional industry. And so there's all kinds of skills involved that we're actively recruiting for. And of course, developers, programmers are part of that, but really just one piece of the puzzle.
Thank you for that. So, you know, just a bit of a recap. Illustrators, IP lawyers, HR, developers, programmers, you know, that are involved in this. And that is what is interesting, you know, to see and to hear, that not everybody wants to play pro. Jay, will come back to you in a moment. Not everybody wants to play pro, but if we can all admit it, we've seen people, even in places where, and you know what I'm talking about, in quasi-judicial processes, we have seen very prominent people playing solitaire. You know, if you know, you know. So, you know what I'm saying, and how big this industry is. Yeah. We'll come back to Jay in a moment, because I want to talk about, you know, the laws, the regulation, and the sort of support and the funding that would be required for making games like these. Dennis, let me come back to you in terms of the sort of skills you confer. So you've got a 3-year program. It's a degree program, is it? You know, there's maybe some people who are saying, okay, you know, maybe I'd like to have my young one go through this. So clearly there are options beyond doctor, engineer, lawyer, and, you know, whatever other very narrow niches that we've got for us. So what sort of skills does this confer? Once we're done with that program, or rather the course that you offer, we will be able to do what and use those skills in what way?
Okay, so as I mentioned, there are several units that are going to be given. So as a game designer, for one, you come up with the idea of the game and separate it into the rules, how the player will interact with that world, what are the objectives, what are some of the rewards that somebody will go through. So that's just as a game designer, and they'll even be in charge of a bit of the production process. So somebody can purely just be dedicated in terms of production. Another will be, then it goes on to a level designer. So the level designer is the one who crafts what you actually see. You know, the game designer tells you the direction of the game, the vision of the game. What do you want people to do? I mean, if I want to teach even children how to say their ABCs, I can gamify that. I can make it in such a simple way that they'll love getting to actually play the game and learn the language in the process. And so the level designer is the one who now breaks it down and puts things visually into place, such that you have those challenges that you will experience, right, and the rewards and all. Then comes in sound designers, who will produce the sound that you'll use in the game to give you feedback on what you're doing, or set the mood and the emotions of the games. Also, script writers are also involved, as they tell the story, as you get feedback that is coming onto the game. Even like Candy Crush, it tells you what you need to do. So there's that text, somebody needs to create it. There are also I mentioned about producers who are going to be in charge of every step of the production from the beginning to the end. They are game artists who will create the actual artwork, the characters, the animation, the visual effects that need to come along with the game to package it to look as amazing as it does, and have those merchandise that people would love to have. And then I think that captures a larger bit of actually
it really does. And there was a gap for this in the market, hence the course that you're offering?
Yes. You see, interactive media needs somebody now who learns to code, because now that's where the game programmer comes into play. Because all these other people have existed individually, a scriptwriter, a sound designer, and game artists. They never needed anyone else. They would create by themselves. But a game uniquely combines all these aspects of visual and audio feedback to be able to get it to be an entertaining point where somebody can work with a device and make decisions and enjoy the experience that they'll be having and craft their own experience. So the experience you'll have and I'll have within the game will most likely be different because of the choices that we make.
Absolutely. So that is that's really interesting that there's a course that exists for that, and to just create that. And like you say, you know, there are people doing it in their disparate spaces. But, you know, happy to see that there is a course that, you know, then brings all of this together. So we want to take a short break, but, you know, I know that you have either played a game today so far in a meeting that you're trying to get out of, or you will before the day is over. Don't be embarrassed. There's a whole industry that works towards making sure you are that entertained. A couple of other things we want to get into when we come back is, you know, the COVID-19 pandemic and whether that has, you know, driven some growth in the industry. Here's some feedback from Robert Wesonga, who says, how can gaming help curb crime or HIV awareness? Are there such games that could support young people in such awareness? We'll be talking a little bit more about that and speaking to the Usiku Games founder, because they have a lot of social messaging in the games that they provide. Any other questions you've got? The hashtag is business now at Citizen TV Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara. We are taking a break. We will be back with more from my guests, including pro gamer. He's called Brian the Beast Dianga. He'll be telling us about this and maybe how that could answer Robert Wesonga's question on Twitter. Back in a moment. Welcome back. The hashtag is business now. Today we're talking about gaming, and like we have been rightfully informed, there's so many people that work in this industry: illustrators, IP lawyers, HR, developers, programmers, coders, script writers, producers, costume designers, game artists, visual effects designers, and so many more that are in this sector that is now a multi-million shilling sector in the country and growing every single day. So we've heard from those who are offering a course in this. We've heard from the Esports Federation, from a developer. We'll come back to them in a moment, but this show would be nothing without giving you a face to some of those who are doing this on a pro level. They call him Brian the Beast Dianga, 28-year-old, you know, who lives in Kibra and who set up a gaming den there. I think we need to change the word gaming den. I don't know, you know, den just sort of kind of sounds like den of thieves, or a cave or something where illegal stuff happens. Yes, but anyway, you know, who are my words are just words. We have news gang, eh? So we're also a group of gangsters. So let's go for it. Patrick Igunzare is with the Beast himself. I'm super excited. Can you tell, Patrick?
Yes, I can hear you. Actually, the excitement is very loud, Yvonne. And I told him that you are a very huge fan of his. In terms of the name, let's tweak it to perhaps a gaming joint or a gaming hub. Yeah. I think that will sit better.
That works.
Won't it?
That works. I like that.
And it's just almost a year since I spoke to Brian the Beast Dianga about his profession, which is gaming. He sleeps gaming, wakes up gaming, lives entirely through gaming, because there's nothing else he does, and he says this is what actually pays his bills. And I want to know whether he's still holding on strong to it, because of the pandemic he decided to do something different. Niaje Bazenga?
Poa sana.
Uko poa?
Niko fiti kabisa.
Naona bado unaendelea kugame.
Tunagitu bado.
Amazing sana. Niambie, bado uko mali nilikuacha ama some things zimebadilika?
Some things zimebadilika, but nime maintain tu. Nashikilia pale pale. Gaming Gaming is the word I'm preaching out here.
Amazing. People would like to know, for how long umekuwa ukigame? Now, what is it that actually prompted you to go into gaming professionally?
Okay. Let's say I've been gaming all my life. Ever since I got knowledge of gaming, that was when I was 6 or 5 years old, I think. To date, I've been gaming. Niliacha ku game tu mara mbili when I was taken to approved school. I went to high school and approved school, so at that time I didn't game. Now there was a time I was in school in a country, I also didn't game. But otherwise, I've been gaming throughout, and I'm doing this till I'm 90 or yeah.
Wow. Now, pia last time venye tulikuwa hapa, ulikuwa na mom, walikuwa naishi within, ulikuwa na famu yako, masisteni ni nini. As we were speaking before this interview, uliniambia umewahamisha.
Yeah. I had to, because it was a dream of mine to get my family from the ghetto, and I said I don't come first, they come first. And if they are good, mimi hata nikilala kwa cave, kwa man cave, niko tu fiti. So once I got them out, sasa nimekuwa nikifocus ku build on this gaming career properly, and I even went to start streaming, and I want to teach people more about gaming. Yeah, so a lot has happened ever since we met, and let's just say nikungangana tu, by the grace of God and the strong will that let's just say I'm strong-willed. I just want to make it. That's it. And I make parts where people say it's impossible, and you see, this is now me.
Now I know ilikuwa costly pia to move your family from the ghetto to somewhere better. Hiyo yote hizo funds zilitokana na gaming.
Of course. I mean, I've worked with Safaricom. Currently, I work with Pro Series Gaming, and I consult with. I even did Valorant and other small tournaments. Like my title right now is Junior Esports League Operator, and my job is to do online tournaments and tournaments.
You can say that again. Your title right now?
Junior Esports League Operator, and my job is to run gaming tournaments, be it online or offline, because I know what it takes to run different kinds of games. So yani ukinieka pale mini pilot in short, sio tanboy pilot.
Amazing sana. Yvonne alikuwa anashindwa sijui tuite hii base yako gaming cave, den, joint ama hub. I want to know, the kids in this ghetto wamechukuliaje interest yako ya gaming, and the fact that once in a while we're gonna invite over? Is it something that is actually gaining traction here in Kibra?
I mean, most of the time I hang out with teenagers, wale wanaelewa gaming kabisa, and those who are in touch with the internet, and most of them want to be like me when they grow up, and I'm just like ni rahisi, because sasa mko na mi, I'm to struggle. I know what you need, so I try to guide them as best as I can. And I have a friend of mine who has a gaming den around down here, so his place is where most of the time we meet. Sometimes I take the console, I take the VR, we go there, we chill, and we just have a good time. But mostly I try to engage them in a positive way, so that they don't go outside there and commit crime and stuff like that, because tunajua hapa ni ghetto. Yeah, tunajua hapa ni ghetto, na this can make a difference. Like, we are seated here, they're talking to me and they're interviewing me because of this.
Yes.
So I believe for them now that this has been discovered, it's something they can make the most out of it, even better than me, you know. And like that's my goal. My goal is to inspire and create ways there where there aren't, you know. We come from a dark place, and ni kidogo sana utapata msana nataka kukushine a light. So where I can with the kids around here, not even here, if I could, I would visit every slum in Nairobi or in Kenya, and just share this message with kids, game with them. See your lazima, like, you don't have to be a pro gamer, you can be a gamer. There is that's what we call it, the ecosystem is big enough that everyone can fit in. You don't, like, you know, not everyone is built to be a sportsman, and when I say I'm a pro gamer, it's like I'm a sportsman. I have to practice for long hours, and I understand some places or backgrounds we come from. We lack a lot. Wase hata TV hakuna, home hakuna, net, PS ni karibu 40k, wase rent ni more than 5k wase wazilipa, so PS haitakuwa kwa hiyo hao, unaona. So when I can share this one of mine with kids and just let them know, manze ni kubaya, but you can make a difference in any way you choose. This is what I chose. You don't have to choose this, but it's an option.
Yes.
So if you are an artist, you can do designs, you can draw and do character designs for games. If you are a what do you call it, a coder, you can code games. If you wewe kama unataka kudo photography now, right now you're doing journalism on gaming, we can have a specific on wewe ni games tu ndo story yako, game ikitoka mpya wewe unaambia wasi
ku review equal specialization ya mind.
Exactly, kama wewe ni comedian, you stream, you make content for people and entertain them. So hii mambo ya youth kuliati hakuna job ni sisi tutaimaliza tu sisi wenyewe.
Amazing. Your design, if there is anything ungependa ku change ama ibadilisho so that gaming equal taken to the next level, much as unasikia Kenya is one of the places where gaming in again traction in the continent a lot, ni nini ungependa ibadilisho so that information equal more attractive, more promising, especially to my enthusiasts wenye wako kwa hii country?
Ni kuna list, but wacha nifinyilie hiyo list kabisa. Number one ni, I think the government should reduce the tariffs and taxes on these things because it's expensive for a regular person to get into this. Let's just say ni Mungu tu manze, hizi vitu kiake hesabu yao hivi pole pole, it's crazy, and it's for a normal Kenyan it's kind of extravagant to afford this. So the government needs to like reduce the taxes on this, make them easily available for us, because this is a way for us to make a living. So if it's easily for us to access, tumemaliza yoshi. Number two, wachange curriculum ya shule. Watu waanze kufundishwa story na makompyuta mapema, class 1, class 2, like we learn about pollination and stuff, and we are not farming, you know. At the end of the day, we all did science and we are doing parts of a plant and whatever, and right now we're looking for jobs in offices, we're looking jobs around computers and stuff. So why not just start the e-learning early, teach kids programming and stuff like that. So that is another thing. And then the other thing is wasi wanajisikia na gaming, manzemi nitafute tukae chini tuongee tutengeneze vitu poa. We even need a government body that identifies esports, you know, and gaming, so that we can take this to the next level.
Amazing sana. Tukimalizia, unajua wanasemanga numbers don't lie. Nataka ukuwe tu open leo kiasi utuambie kwa hii career yako, hii profession yako, what's the most amount uliwahi make kama kushinda as a result of hii journey yako ya kucheza na makompyuta?
Like I have had small winnings, a lot of them, but the major one that I ever got, kuna ile check pale, check hiyo ni 15.
Hiyo ni 15k.
Hiyo ilikuwa ya kwanza. Then zingine mob zikakam, but I think the most I got was either 40 or 35. That was from Pro Series Gaming, the 1 million tournament that was there, and that was the most I got off one tournament, not what I've got from gaming. What I've got from gaming is way too much. I've lost count.
Amazing.
I've lost count, but yeah, ni kibao.
Your design,
but nisinyongo tafadhali.
Aital sana Yvonne, umesikia hapo Yvonne kutoka kwa Brian the Beast Dianga, na anasema mayouth George tole wakam, kuna opportunity hapa hivi, na again too much work without play, na mekigiwa tu kama sisi tukue walezi kimpango, wajanja ndio walisema. Back to you in studio.
Yeah, Patrick, just hang on a second because kuna mtu hapa anataka kumpa salams kidogo. Dennis, who we have with us in studio from the Rubika Game Development Program, actually knows the Beast. So I wonder if, Dennis, you can speak to him and just say, tell us how you know each other.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Anakugotea Dennis hapa in studio from Rubika.
Thank you, and greetings back to you, Dennis.
How are you doing? It's been a while since you are in class with you. Ukanionyesha ku game.
He's asking how you're doing since the last time you were in class with him.
Oh, it's Dennis.
Yes.
Yeah, Dennis was my graphics design teacher in ADMI.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm also a graphic designer. Thankfully, I had a lot of struggles and it was very strict. And yeah, that's why I usually try to incorporate everything around gaming. Like the way I was learning design has been a good way for me to learn more about gaming. So yeah, those were good times. It was the first person. Yeah, he checked Nikonayo Juyage. He was my first sponsor. He was my first sponsor. He gave me 1K to go and register for this tournament at EAG. And I was under his studio called the Dallas Studios. That was the t-shirt I was wearing that day. Thank you very much. Never got the opportunity to say this.
Wow.
You started my dream. You started off my dream, and here we are today.
Your design, they know as a teacher,
Wow.
your efforts are equal to waste.
Yes,
You are a
I'm
proud
humbled.
teacher.
Indeed, indeed. Dennis will come back to you. Someone is cutting up onions in studio. That is amazing, and very amazing to hear. You know what? Well done to you. I'm getting, quite a bit of feedback. A couple of people who are sending me text messages asking, noting the fact that the Beast went to approved school and has now turned himself around. And that's what, this industry clearly does, and the opportunities that it provides. So good stuff to you, the Beast. Dennis, we'll come back to you in a moment. I'd like to speak to Jay just for a moment to talk about, the sort of regulation and the laws that govern, the gaming sector and the gaming industry. Are they sufficient? Do they exist? And how are you functioning in that space with the regulation that exists or perhaps doesn't?
The Beast is a great example of the power of this industry to create positive change when the student surpasses the teacher.
Yep.
Great example. So and it is really important, I think, for the government to get involved and to recognize the ability of this industry to foster development within the community. Most of the regulation that exists in Kenya today is done by the BCLB, the Betting Control Board, which really looks at the gambling side of the industry. And what's interesting is that at Secret Games, we actually are an anti-gambling organization. We started in response to the sports betting and BetPesa, SportPesa that was around when we started, and trying to bring youth out of that and wean them off of it into a different form of dealing with their boredom, through that dopamine hit, but doing it without the gambling addiction. Other countries like India, particularly in Hyderabad, the state of Hyderabad, have passed laws to support what's called skills-based gaming, which are anti-gambling fundamentally, but still control the industry and help it to grow in a safe way for everybody. A lot of the media focus has been on what you were calling the gambling dens. We see that as a tiny, tiny piece of this industry. As the Beast was saying, the cost of the consoles and those gaming PCs are out of the reach for the average Kenyan, and that's why 99% of our industry is mobile focused. We're very much on the smartphones and creating content and games for people's phones, and content that is socially beneficial, not deleterious.
Okay. What sort of support would you, if you were to have a seat with government officials, because right now, you're saying you are, sort of under, the Betting Control and Licensing Board, where would you see yourself fitting best? And what sort of support do you think government should, and, basically paying attention, because many people say, it's just games, and it's for lazy people who are behind their phones or on their screens a lot of the time. What sort of support do you need? Where do you think you are best situated within, the government structure to get the right support that would be required?
Sure. No, I think it's the opposite of the laziness.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this is a real powerful engine for economic development in the country. We saw just last week Electronic Arts spent 1.3 billion, that's with a B, billion US dollars to buy a game developer of one game. So this has huge potential within Kenya to make Kenya a real powerhouse across Africa. And so we'd like to see it really seen as that economic tool and not something that needs to be tamped down or controlled, because it has really potential for good.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for that. Just a quick one, because, and I'll take this also as your final words. In terms of funding, talk to us about that, because this is, you're using software, there's quite a bit that goes into this in terms of investment. How easy is that to come by?
So it's definitely getting easier at the moment. There's some great funders and VCs that are coming into the market, particularly on the angel investor side. Groups like Keppel Africa and Sherpa Ventures that are starting to really invest in the industry in Kenya and really across the continent. And so I think for people who are just starting out today, particularly if you have some sort of a business background and you definitely need a business plan, there is funding available. Google has just announced a huge startup fund just in the last week for Black-founded new ventures in Africa, particularly in the gaming industry. So there's money available for sure.
Okay, thank you for that, Jay Shapiro, CEO, founder of Usiku Games. Good to hear from you on that. Bavon Ojwang, the CEO of the Esports Federation in Kenya. I guess the same question as we've asked Jay, the regulation, the sort of support, because everybody seems to look at this industry and says, well, it's just, and yet we have sports federations, and maybe one day we'll have a Kenyan KPL, I don't know, on the Esports Federation of Kenya?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the issue of regulation, okay, it's becoming a bit of, something that really needs to be dealt with as soon as now. And so there are a couple of, ideas that we put in place to make sure that, we can now begin to craft some regulations for these. There do exist different parts of the government that also do a little bit of their own regulations, like, for instance, if you're developing educational games, like what Mr. Shapiro does, then you have to go to KICD to approve those.
Right.
The criteria of approval are not really good. I could say that, all these things need to be streamlined. And also now there's the issue of Betting and Control Board. Betting and Control Board wants to jump into an area which is not theirs, And that has brought a lot of confusion. Just the fact that we seem to share the word gaming. Like Dennis in the beginning was describing the difference, what gaming is and the different terminologies within gaming. Gaming is purely an e-sport word. The Betting Control Board guys came in, drew that on their side, and
Well, they saw some money in the industry,
and then just pulled in that. But they should not be involved in this. And actually, this is where the difference comes in. When you're betting, is a game of chance. Is you gambling? You're taking chances with it. When you're doing e-sport, is a game of skill. E-sport is a sport. Is a sport like soccer, And actually, Betting Control Board, they have a little bit of place where they also come in the esports. For instance, if now I roll out the Esports National League, then now they can come and use that
in case there's people who now want to place bets on that.
Place bets on that. But not that they should be involved from the word go when anybody is trying to partake of esport. So that's where the confusion has been. So currently, as a federation, we're coming up with the charter. We've involved a couple of law firms just try and help out with this. And Dennis, I'll really encourage you to continue developing the law aspect of esporting, because actually there's very little, even not just with esport alone, but sports law. I think a lot of people don't study that. They don't partake of that, and so it become an issue. So it's something I'll encourage that you do a lot of that. So on issues of regulation, we're trying to really work on that. It will take a little bit of time, but eventually we'll be able to get it right.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Dennis. Then you get the final word on that, as well as I know you'd wanted to talk a little bit more about the breakdown of the course. Just your final thoughts on that.
Okay. So the course itself is divided into 3. We first of all start off with a certificate program that is about 9 months and 2 months of internship, and then graduate to the diploma program, which is again another 9 months, and then the 3 months of internship, and then the final year you have the opportunity to either continue doing it here, or you can go ahead to France with the main Rubika campus to take it up. That is if, of course, your grades are good enough. And also to support what has been mentioned about the things that government could do is just to be able to facilitate the organizations for funding. Because nowadays, even for the film sector, they cannot get funding from a bank, because creative IP is not something that they still consider as collateral. So that would be really, really helpful. Even passport issues or immigration challenges that come up with esports players coming into the country. It was a problem in 2018 when we had a tournament here, and some guys couldn't come because they were refused access in.
Why? Because they were asked what they were coming to do?
Yeah, they were asked what they're coming to do, and they came for an esports tournament, and they were told no.
Yeah, what is that? that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So such things, and then finally get a place where we can get some rebates. This digital service tax was a huge hit for us. We are an infant industry, and yet you're already taxing something that we are beginning. We've just started in the education section, and already we are having several challenges there. You can't teach when you a degree course when you don't have a master's. So that becomes already a challenge. So if there are even scholarships that are going to help people go study in their masters and their PhDs to be able to craft out their laws, their policies that would work, then it would be really a big boost to to all of us. Yeah, that's it.
Great, and that's a really good place to leave it. Well, I have all of you here, and we'll be sharing this feedback with Brian Dianga as well. Jay, I hope you can still hear me, and you, Bhavan and Dennis. This is feedback we've received from a director who's watching the show, a director of the Betting Control and Licensing Board, who says she is listening and will be reaching out to each and every one of you to particularly understand the needs of that. That is the impact of business now. So thank you, all of you, for helping me understand and helping me learn. And so now when I'm trying to sleep and I'm playing the crossword puzzle, I kid you not. I have the crosswords, and it's the thing, it's probably the last thing I do before I go to sleep. At least I know I am benefiting an industry to a greater extent. And it's not just idling. I'd like to read a little bit more of the feedback that we're getting from our viewers who are watching the show. Jacob Abere Matlala says, gaming is a good investment for computer software development, but it's only associated with idling, gambling, and lower performance in majority of the industries that use computers and results delivery, like accounting and security. However, we are first learning that things are very different from that. And then there's another one here, ADMI, which offers the Rubica course, saying, they realize there's no place in East and Central Africa that people can learn how to create games. Therefore, partnering with Rubica and bringing the video development courses in Kenya, and you've been sufficiently challenged to then take a look at esports law and to incorporate that as well. And of course, some of the outtakes from that: 65% of those who play games are women, and they're of middle age. That is a very interesting finding from the show today. What a learning experience we've had of a multi-million shilling industry in the country. Many thanks to all of my guests, Jay, Bhavan, Dennis. Dennis the Beast, we thank you as well for making the time here for us on the show today. And indeed, you'll be hearing from the Betting Control and Licensing Board. That's what we do here, aiming to give impact to the SME sector. All right, so that is it for the show today. Remember, you can keep interacting with us. The hashtag is BusinessNow. We'll see you again next week, where we focus on yet another aspect for SMEs. Thank you, and thank you to you, Jay. We see you waving. Asante sana. Take care. Bye-bye.